Hey guys, I'm Jennie Merritt and this is Art Glass Affairs. I am a glass lamp worker and I make jewellery and some other sculptural things as well. And today I'm going to take you through how I make a very simple pair of glass headpins and turn them into a pair of stud earrings. So what are you going to need? Well, you're going to need some wire to start with. Now I'm using stainless steel wire today. I do see people ask quite often, what wire should I use to make glass headpins? And for me, it really depends on what I'm going to do with them at the end of making them. So are they going to be turned into a pair of earrings? Are they going to be wrapped into a piece of jewellery, in which case I'd use a softer wire. But these I need something fairly stiff, so I'm going to be using this steel rod. Now this is a welding rod. I actually buy it in bulk from a welding supplier locally, and it's sold by weight. This is 1mm stainless steel rod that I'm going to be using, and I just cut it to the size that I need. Okay, what else are you going to need? Well, you're going to need a couple of earring backs. So when you've actually made your earrings, obviously you need something to just put on the back of them. You need a pair of cutters strong enough to cut your stainless steel wire with once the headpins are made. So please don't use your best Tronex or Lindstrom jewellery pliers on these. You need a pair of heavy duty cutters. And you also need a cup burr. Now I've got just a little handheld one here. I also have some that go into my flex shaft machine or Dremel machine, so you can buy them. You need to get a cup burr, that fits the size of your wire. So if you're using a 1mm wire as I am today, you need a 1mm cup burr. Okay. Also a little bit of sandpaper, not too coarse a grit. Oh no, this is 120 grit. So just to clean up the wire once it comes out of the kiln. And I've also got a ruler and a Sharpie pen marker here as well. And that's pretty much it. So let's get going. Let's head to the torch and I'll take you through the actual making of the glass headpins first. Okay, so here we are guys at the torch, and I'm just going to pick up this rod of black glass. Is it black? I think it is. That I'm going to use today. Now, top tip for you, when you're making glass headpins and you want to get them to be the same size because you want to use them for a pair of earrings, pre-cut your glass to size. So I've got a pair of nippers here, and I'm just going to come into the glass rod and just about an inch or so, and just cut that rod. Oh, can't quite get there. Normally I would do this before actually starting, but I wanted to show you it being done. And then I just line up, get a rough idea of where I'm at, and cut a second piece the same size. So I end up with two pretty much the same size pieces of glass that I can use. Obviously then I'm not going to hold that in the flame, so I've got a pair of hemostat tweezers that I will actually use for those. So curved hemostat tweezers, they're locking, and I'm just going to open those, pop the ends of the glass in, and then lock them together again, so I've got a nice grip on that. And then I'll just put that second piece out of the way for the moment and we're good to go. So I'm going to start at the end of the flame here with the glass and just gently warming. I do see people dabbing the glass in and out because they've been taught that, oh, you know, you do that to gently warm the glass up. I was taught that first off as well, or I read that because I taught myself, but that's what I read. And I was still getting glass shocking, and then I read somewhere else, I think, or I was told by somebody else, can't quite remember. No, don't do that, because when you're dabbing the glass in and out of the flame, then you're still going hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. So it's actually better just to hold your glass just beyond the flame where you can see it, because it's still warm out there, and just get the tip of the glass warm, and then you can start to bring it down. It does take maybe a little bit more patience, but it might save you having your glass shocking and spinning and flying everywhere. So as always, you're angling the glass down when you bring it in, just in case it does shock and spit. Now I'm not forming too much of a gather here, because what I'm actually going to do is just get the end juicy, heat the tip of the stainless and plunge it in there, okay? And then I let go of the glass, back into the flame, and just start where it's already hot. You'll see that the rod will fall down, and then you're just using your heat control. Sometimes it can get out of control, that's okay. And you're just going to start to melt that glass and form it into that gather, that ball on the end of the wire. Okay, now I am holding the wire directly because it's stainless steel. It's not conducting heat. So in the same way that when you use your bead mandrel and you wrap the glass around, it's stainless steel, so you can hold it. If you find it is a little bit tricky to hold because it's only 1 millimeter thick and your hands are having a bit of a struggle, then obviously use your choice of wire holder, whether you use pin vices or whether you've got one of these neat little doohickey tools that has been produced over time. This is 1 millimeter, so it's actually quite difficult for me to fit in my holders. My holders don't actually go up to this thickness for the wire, so it's stainless. I can just hold it in my hand. It's perfectly fine and I'm comfortable doing so. And I'm just getting that heat into that glass, rounding it off, shaping it out of the flame, trying to keep it level, trying to keep it on center, and just forming that ball of glass. Now you can go in with your marver and neaten up the back side if you want to, so you could take your marver in and just heat up the back side if you think it needs to be flattened slightly, because you do want it to sit quite nicely against the ear. And just that gentle rotation forwards and backwards. That's setting up. Have a quick look at the face of the glass, and yeah, that's not too bad at all. So I'm just going to leave that one there and pop it in the kiln and make the second one. Okay, so here we are. The head pins have been through their annealing cycle in the kiln, and I've got them here ready to go. So as you can see, they've come out pretty good from a similar sort of shape and size, bearing in mind that I did that cutting of the glass to size before actually making them. So I'm going to start with the small piece of sandpaper. So I just got a little piece of sandpaper and took it off just tore a little bit off the main sheet, and I'm just giving the pin a little bit of a clean up here, just to try and bring a bit of shine back. Now right down where the glass is, just right near there, it's a little bit harder to get in and clean that up with the sandpaper, because obviously that's been in the flame or closer to the flame, so it does tend to stay a little bit darker. Okay, let's do the other one. So just giving those a clean up to clean that wire up, although most of that's actually going to be cut off anyway. We're not going to use that. Isn't that just typical that a lorry's just gone past my studio? It's been quiet all day long, and as soon as I start recording, a lorry goes past. Anyway, so I've cleaned up the wire. So the next thing to do is determine how long I'm going to make them. So I normally go about 1 centimeter. So I've got my ruler and my Sharpie here, and so what I'm going to do is just butt up the edge of the wire. And there's another truck going past as well, goodness me, all of a sudden. So I'm just butting up the edge of the wire, and I'm just going to use my Sharpie just to make 1 centimeter there. So from the back of the glass to the end there, about 1 centimeter, 10 millimeters long. And I'm going to do the same with the other one here as well. So just hold it against there and just a rough mark. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is get my cutters. Now remember, as I said earlier, don't use your best jewellery cutters that are only meant for things like copper and sterling silver. You need a pair of heavy duty cutters here, and I'm just going to get that in place where the mark is, and make sure that I've got the flat edge towards what's going to be left so that I get a nice flush cut rather than a pointy cut, and then hold both pieces of the wires so the other bit doesn't go flying off, and cut. Okay, pretty good there. All right, so let's do the other one. And so I've got my 2 stud earrings here now, pretty much cut to size. And so I'm just going to clean up the ends of them now. So I'm going to start with my sandpaper, and I'm just going to take it to the edge of the stud there, just taking it down and across the ends there as well of the wire. Because obviously if this is going to go through the ear, you don't want it to be sharp. All right, and let's do the other one. And also, of course, when you're sanding, it does take off the texture, the Sharpie marker that you put on there to get your size right when you cut the studs to size. Okay, sanded those back. So now I'm going to get the cup burr. So this is your cup burr. As you can see, it's just got a little bit on the end, which has got a little hollow inside. That's what fits the 1 millimeter. And I'm just turning it round and round here. And what you're doing is there's little burrs just inside this cup burr that actually just smooths down, takes any sharp edges off the end of the wire. And if you can get a piece for your Dremel or your flex shaft, if you have one, you can get the cut burrs for them, and obviously that's going to be a lot quicker and a lot more effective because obviously it's power driven. Okay, let's do the other one. Just run your finger over the edge, and there you go, pretty much done. A very simple way to make a pair of glass stud earrings out of your glass head pins. I'm just going to get the butterfly back here, so when you buy your backs, maybe take your wire with you so that you know that it fits on nice and snug. Okay, and there we go, 1 pair of glass headpin stud earrings. Thanks for watching, guys.